when Elon Musk has the access to your social security number and the Jeffrey Epstein files have vanished from the face of the earth. I wonder all the time, like, what is the thing? What is the thing that's going to topple the domino that leads to like the aha moment in their brains?
His name is Kenny Hesse. He's the co-executive producer of the Really American Network. Kenny, I do appreciate you coming on, my friend. It's good to meet you. How are you?
Likewise, I'm doing well, and back at you, man. I really appreciate not only you joining the network, but you having me on. I was just listening. It's a hell of a cast of characters you got coming up. I'm honored to be a part of it.
Well, thanks, Kenny. I appreciate that. I'm certainly honored to be a part of your network, and you guys do such a great job. I've been following you guys for a very long time. Can you explain to people when this network started and how you were able to gather the following, the huge following that you have now, Kenny?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'd be remiss not to mention, as you have previously, Justin Horwitz. The whole thing started really with him just making memes on Facebook back in the day. And that transformed into Really American, which started as, a super PAC back in the day, then became a massive Facebook page, massive Twitter presence. And really, I know you just mentioned you'd only been doing your YouTube page for about a year. I joined on with Really American a little more than a year ago myself. And back then, I think we're just under 100,000 subscribers. And really all it was our other host, Chip Franklin, absolute great guy. He was just making short form content, doing political satire and stuff. He's an excellent comedian, great writer, really stand-up guy. And I came on as the second host. And from there, we just started making videos. I'd always been a fan of, political satire, always had my head in the news, always very left-leaning. My idols were like Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert. And so Justin was kind enough to let me do my shtick and have fun with it. And from there, we just kind of figured out the social media algorithms, took a lot of inspiration from our friends at Midas Touch, and just tried to make a great show. And, especially leading up to the election, really tried to swing things the other way. Yep. Only we could have succeeded. But yeah, that's really where it was born out of. And we're just so excited to have you on and to really build this thing from here and just keep going.
Yeah, really excited as well. And you mentioned Midas Touch. I just did the Piers Morgan show with Adam Mockler. Adam's done this show before. He's great. And Ron Filipowski does the show every week. Ron was on yesterday, and those guys are great. You're great. We need more people like you guys. And I'm so glad to be a part of what you guys are doing. Kenny, what do you make of the times where every single day it's something else to talk about, right? Again, with the Epstein stuff, and again with Donald Trump deflecting. Here's the part I really don't get. You could tell me whether you agree with me or not here. It seems like there are a lot of MAGA Republicans out there that want to blame Pam Bondi, but I say to myself, it's all at Donald Trump's directive. Yeah. She's going to do everything Donald Trump tells her to do. Why do they not understand that?
That's a question I find myself asking almost every day, and I have yet to get an answer to it. I have my theories, and I think some are strong, have stronger support some days than other, whether it's a lack of empathy, a lack of, getting outside the propaganda of Fox News. I think there's also just this odd identity crisis that we've seen going on since like 2015, since Trump entered the race, where, if MAGA has to combat their ideas about Donald Trump, then it means combating some sort of self-identity that they're not ready or willing or have the emotional capacity to do. And I remember thinking this back in 2015, 2016. I mean, I graduated college then, and I was like really getting into the political side of things. And I was just like, not only appalled, but just really shocked at the fact that it felt like we weren't living in base reality. Like there's a completely different reality that the MAGA sphere operates in that they continue to construct and contort simultaneously to fit this like narrative that they have that Donald Trump is somehow a God king and can do no wrong, and definitely didn't know Jeffrey Epstein, despite very, very clear footage and tapes and the like. It's frankly mind-boggling. And really, I've said this many times, but the only way that I find myself being able to get through it, as I'm sure you can relate to, is just by talking about it and poking fun at it, because I think humor is really the only way to cut through the BS and to be able to process what the hell is going on.
the hypocrisy, right, Kenny, is unbelievable. They call Democrats and liberals, they throw the term around pedophile all the time.
Yep.
Yet it appears as though the Trump administration, whether Trump is in there or not, which I think he is in the files, but they're the ones that are protecting the pedophiles. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And then the argument I'm hear from some of these MAGA supporters are, well, Joe Biden had the files. Yeah, but Joe Biden wasn't best friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and he wasn't on the flight log 7 times. What do you make of somebody like a Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's obviously upset that the Epstein files aren't out, but also says, I didn't vote for all these weapons to be sent to Ukraine? Well, what did you expect? Did you think Donald Trump was going to tell you the truth?
Well, I don't think she expected jack shit, if I may be frank. My personal opinion is she can go kick rocks.
Right.
But I, it's the same thing as when she said she didn't read the bill, and now she's pissed off about what's in the bill.
Right.
It's like you can't say America first or make America great again, or say that you do what your constituents want you to do, when all you're doing is towing party lines, making drama for drama's sake, and then just BSing your entire constituency and the world, and throwing out crazy conspiracy theories like the Jewish space lasers, or Democrats control the weather, or you can name any number of things. And the pedophile thing as well, it baffles my mind, because, for the party that is so pro-life or whatever, and the party that like wants to root out all these PDF files or whatever, it's not even just Trump. And sure, there's things on both sides. Like, it's not like the separation of party line is like, oh, you're a good or bad person, but overwhelmingly, it's a lot of MAGA, it's a lot of Republicans, it's a lot of Christians that are the ones that really get caught doing these heinous things, like child stuff. And when you've lost your soul that much as I think Marjorie Taylor Greene has, not that I know that she really had any to begin with, or brains for that matter, which I think both of those things kind of coincide in the MAGA party and make what it is. But when that's where you're coming from, you really don't have any ground to stand on, like I said, unless you just take the ground out from everyone's feet. And I think that's exactly what this administration is doing. It's like, hey, we're going to run on releasing the Epstein files, but also now the Epstein files aren't real. But then 2 days later, the Democrats wrote the Epstein files.
Right. Now it's Obama and Joe Biden. That was the excuse that Donald Trump said earlier today. Oh, yeah. Well, Pam Bondi gave us, kind of a briefing. It was very brief, but it's all Obama and Joe Biden. I mean, that's Donald Trump's excuse for everything. Inflation, the numbers came out today. That's something else, Kenny, I wanted to ask you about. Sure. So Caroline Leavitt goes on social media today bragging about all this money they're making, the billions of dollars they're making from these tariffs. First of all, inflation is up. The June numbers just came out. And second of all, they're making the money from the American consumer.
Exactly.
They're bragging about charging more money to some of these Americans, many of whom I would imagine voted for Donald Trump. You can't make this up.
Yeah. It's insane. It's just people are so willing to shoot themselves in the foot with a smile on their face because they're a part of a cult. And even when he announced the tariffs on Russia, or purportedly plans to announce the tariffs on Russia, giving them 50 days to keep invading Ukraine with no repercussion whatsoever. Second of all, those tariffs, you don't tariff a country that's committing war crimes. You put sanctions on them. And granted, we have a lot of sanctions on Russia already, but if you're putting tariffs on Russia, the only people paying those tariffs, to your earlier point, are Americans and Europeans.
Right.
The same people who are getting screwed by Putin. So sure, make as much money as you want off of tariffs, but you're making it off the back of hardworking people, even the people who unfortunately supported you. And then you're going to claim that that's not leading to inflation. Or the best part is the Republicans are cheering the inflation numbers. And they're like, oh, this is the best economy ever, despite all of the logical, statistical data that does not support it. But it doesn't matter to them because, frankly, nothing matters to them except their own success and, Donald Trump being the man.
You're right. If you're just joining us, by the way, he is Kenny Hesse with the Really American Network that I am so proud to be a part of. Really excited about that. Kenny, let's talk a little bit about Ukraine, the war, and Vladimir Putin. So in the last 5 months or so, has Donald Trump not realized that Putin is full of it and he's an evil, murderous dictator, and he wants to give Putin another 50 days? And I'm thinking to myself, Is this the great negotiator? Like, he didn't know who Vladimir Putin was, and he wants to give him another chance and another 50 days. Literally every single time Trump says Putin wants peace, there's another airstrike where women and children are murdered in Ukraine. You remember when Zelensky was in the White House and that despicable the way that they treated him.
Even say thank you? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And he calls Zelensky a dictator. I'm sure you remember that. And at one time he blamed Ukraine for the start of the war. And now all of a sudden he's saying, well, I tell my wife, contractual wife, Melania, every time I talk to Vladimir Putin, it's a nice conversation. And then there's an airstrike. Did he just realize just now that Putin's a bad guy, Kenny?
Obviously not, but I think that it really just boils down to, a lot of people talk about how he's a toddler, and we make jokes about that all the time. And I do think that there is just deeply inside of him, there is a small little boy that never got enough love or attention. And I don't know, maybe his father was abusive. Maybe that's why he has this admiration for power, but he idolizes power and people in power and people who are strong. I don't even think it's as deep, because I don't think Donald Trump is this deep. I don't think he's like, I want to be a fascist dictator, even though like the people around him are really pushing him towards that and allowing him to get to that point. But I do think he just has this fascination with authoritarians because they're powerful, and he wants to feel like them and be like them. And that is why he thinks he has this golden tongue that will, persuade Vladimir Putin to end the war in 24 hours, which we obviously did not see. But also he wants to be liked by these other people that he sees as respectful figures, regardless of whether they're war criminals, regardless of whether they're authoritarians, whether they're dictators. He has this, it's almost, I think it's why him and Elon Musk got along so well, is because they need to be liked by people. And to your point about, or your question rather, about, did he just find out he's a bad guy, and how does this all transpire so disastrously? I mean, you're talking about the guy who wrote The Art of the Deal while having 6 bankruptcies, bankrupting a casino in New Jersey, my home state, in Atlantic City, and defrauding the United States government out of taxes. And then he says, I've never been bankrupt in my life, I'm so rich. Like,
yeah, I spent some time in Atlantic City myself. I'm an East Coaster too. I'm from Connecticut. I think you're talking about the Taj Mahal.
Yes.
And it is really hard to bankrupt a casino. Very difficult.
The house always wins. The same for the reason.
Yeah, very difficult. And by the way, they wouldn't give him a gaming license here in Las Vegas. He's got the Trump Tower. He wanted that to be a casino. They wouldn't let him do it. And with the money he allegedly has, that certainly is saying something for sure. So a lot of people are saying, Kenny, that are not political, that are economists, and we have a lot of brilliant economists that come on this show, that we're headed towards a recession. The war in Ukraine you could make the argument, is worse off now than it was on day one when Trump took office. He said the war would be over within 24 hours. We're in a war with Iran, whether people want to admit it or not, because of his weird allegiance to Benjamin Netanyahu and believing Israeli intelligence over our own. Inflation is up. Gas prices are not down. Food prices are not down. People are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. They're taking away food stamps from people. I think in the big, beautiful bill, correct me if I'm wrong, $10 billion they're cutting from food stamps. And somewhere around the line of 15 million people are going to lose their medical coverage. Yet when I have MAGA Republicans that call into this show from time to time, they always want to say, well, I love what he's doing when it comes to immigration, without even understanding that he's not going by what it says in our Constitution. Any person has the right to due process. But they seem to be okay with that, and they want to blame migrants for all their problems.
Yeah. I mean, well, listen, I live in Los Angeles, and I have seen, fortunately not in person, I did go to some No Kings protests, but I see day in and day out from people I know, specifically in immigrant communities, like just the fear and the absolute, like, sheer terror that people have going to, places like their church, places like work, or just going out, because you have masked, for lack of better terminology, Gestapo agents, people who we can't even really verify whether or not they are immigration enforcement agents. And even if they were, they don't have warrants most of the time. And they're just snatching people up off the street and disappearing them. And that in and of itself, like the fact that MAGA people can call in to your show, Brian, and say this like vocally with their chest online, on forums, on Twitter, that they support that, or that makes them happy, that is just grounds for like, I don't care about your opinion after that. Frankly, I have my own opinion about whether I think those kinds of people should even be able to vote. But that's not something that I have the authority or,
Kenny, it's funny you say that, because I had Vivek Ramaswamy on the show probably about a year ago. And it's the one thing, I think he's a slime ball, but it's the one thing that I agreed with him on when he said you should have to pass some sort of test in order to vote. Now, that would mean, well, Donald Trump can't vote anyway because he's a felon, right? But that's beside the point. I don't think Donald Trump could pass that test. But I do agree with Ramaswamy. I think there should be some sort of test that you should have to pass in order to vote. But if that was the case, Trump, we know he would have lost millions of votes because of that, right?
100%. And it's funny because to the exact like heart of the conversation that we're having, like you like that is coming from Vivek Ramaswamy, and I kind of agree as well. But it's like that is a type of voter restriction. But if you were to present that in a way to MAGA, that like, hey, well, maybe you should have to pass like, don't you think maybe you should have to pass a history test or pass a cognitive intelligence test? Like, they could take that and maybe warp it and make it work for them. But if someone on the left proposes that, then it's communist buzzword, socialism, whatever, the words that they don't even know the meaning to. But because it's, because it affects them negatively, then it's like, oh, well, now I don't want to do that. So the insane logic that you have to, I don't even want to say have, but like warp in your brain to be MAGA and to root for these things while they're actively being taken away, like food stamps, or root for government transparency when Elon Musk has the access to your social security number and the Jeffrey Epstein files have vanished from the face of the earth. I wonder all the time, like, what is the thing? What is the thing that's going to topple the domino that leads to like the aha moment in their brains? And I don't know what it is. If it's not Epstein, I have very little faith in anything at this point, but it bewilders me every day.
It does for me as well. I don't know how veterans could support this guy after the way he's treated veterans and the things he says when it comes to women. I mean, listen, I can go on and on and on, but I guess the last question I wanted to ask you, Kenny, is, we're both in the same industry. We talk about a lot of the same important topics. But I always tell people, we can't normalize this. We can't just throw our arms in the air. And I know you guys aren't doing that and say, hey, there's nothing we can do. We're just going to have to deal with this for the next 3.5 years. We have to call it out every day. We have to call it their BS every single day. The midterms are right around the corner. Can't look to the past, right? Got to look to the future. Democrats have to have a strong midterms. We got to make sure that a MAGA moron like a J.D. Vance or anybody else does not win in 2028. Got to be a good midterms. You got to focus on the future and get people out there to vote and continue to try to explain to people how dangerous this man is. I understand there's a cult of people. Donald Trump, I've said this, and I believe Donald Trump could molest a child on video. And there's a percentage of those Trump supporters that would still support. Right. They're gone. We can't talk to those people. But there are a lot of people that sat out the elections in November, Kenny, as you know. Got to continue to do what we do and hope that they get out there and vote, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's exactly what we've been trying to do with Really American. And that's my only advice to people who feel downtrodden, disheartened. It's why I try to approach things with humor. And I think that's why Donald Trump is going after people like Rosie O'Donnell, a comedian trying to denaturalize her citizenship over talking shit about him. It's why he's going after PBS and Elmo and all these other things, because fascism attacks comics first and then education. They're dismantling the education department. So my biggest like do this advice is like support independent media, be sure to call it out every day, be vocal. Every little interaction matters. And I see it in our comments all the time. People with the Epstein and stuff are like, we need to say this every day. This should be a rallying cry every day. Do not let this die, because that is what the game plan is for the regime, is to just flood the news cycle. Steve Bannon said it, make you distracted with this, make you distracted with that. And it's good to touch on all of those things as we do. But I think the more we can call it out, the more we can make fun of these people while still, driving home the point of how absolutely heinous and inhumane these things are, then I think we will start to affect people. And I think Donald Trump is doing some of that work for us. So we need to take advantage of that and make people recognize who the real devil in the situation is.
Yeah, very well said, Kenny. And I want to say again, you know, I love what you guys do. You and Justin, you guys over there do such a wonderful job. And it's really an honor that, you know, we've teamed up and I'm going to be a part of what you guys do at the Really American Network. And I guess, you know, my show is going to be for people that, and I made the announcement yesterday, but my show is going to be broadcasted live. And it is right now on your YouTube page, on your Facebook page, and you guys are going to be editing my content up there. And you guys have such a massive following. So, and there's a reason for that, because you guys do such a great job. So I'm very appreciative. And I wanted to say thank you to you guys to be a part of what you guys do and your family. And I really am excited to be teaming up with you guys. So thank you so much.
Thank you. The feeling is very mutual, Brian. So thank you so much, man.
Means a lot, Kenny. I appreciate it, my friend. We're going to have you guys on again soon, and keep up the great work.